All right, looks like we got Tyler here with a interesting hand. So they're playing against control. So I mean, the exploit's pretty good. The research is all right. The lightning storm is essentially a dead card. Um, I'm interested to see whether they keep this hand or not.
And if we didn't mention, wsgRon is on essentially lights out control deck, just the honor control deck, Garden of Omen, spells, lots of removal, lots of card draw, and kill you with a ton of different ways in the late game. But that part's not important.
Yeah, Felrock here seems like it will be nice. It seems like they'll be able to get the influence for it pretty easily and be able to discard it with the Forbidden Research. That should
Absolutely.
probably be pretty good, as it's taking a card out of Ron's hand essentially for free.
For sure. And if you're following the leaderboard at all, wsgRon is one of those in the hunt, about 1 point tied, but missing on tiebreakers right now. So Ron is really hoping to make top 4 tonight to be able to get in and get one of those tiebreaker slots, get one of those wildcard slots. So a lot on the line for Ron here. All right. Tyler's looking at hand. Let's see what Ron's hand looks like. Just Desserts, Honor of Claws, Wisdom of the Elders, Petition, Gem of Merchant, and a Silex. Nothing too surprising here. Now, did this deck with the Silex nerf, do you think there's less reason to run Silexes in this control deck, or do you think that your power needs are so heavy, a lot of them are coming in depleted anyway, that it doesn't really matter?
I mean, it's hard to know. It's just so early since the nerf. My gut reaction is that like the Primal Silix, Skycrag Silix, might still be reasonable. I'm surprised that we're seeing Rakano Silix though.
Mm-hmm.
These decks are like mostly primal based control, and they're like essentially splashing a lot of times a lot of the other cards and other factions. So I'm interested to see whether this Rakano Silix is gonna be undepleted or even make a trove very often.
All right, Ron's looking at Garden of Omens on the top, and Ron's going to keep that one. They've got 2 power in hand. They can hit that Garden on turn 5. Exploit the draw here from Tyler. If it was 1 turn off, might be able to exploit that Garden, but not going to do that here. Just going to see Just Desserts and a bunch of card draw. So I guess it's fine to take the Honor or the Wisdom, but not the best hit in the world.
Yeah, they can take the honor. It makes Ron's turn 4 a little worse.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not being able to hit that garden is rough. Obviously, uh, they don't know about that.
Right.
But yeah, us seeing, like everything,
What
we're
could
like,
have been?
no, they should have waited. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, and then a backup honor and a second wisdom off the top. So Ron's deck doing what it does best: draw a bunch of cards and then slap down powerful cards. And luckily for them, they haven't really had to use much removal here so far. So those haven't been needed. Fire Tech Explosion off the top. Not going to use that for a while.
Oh, interesting. So not going for garden right away actually makes a lot of sense because Tyler is representing this Forbidden Research
Mm-hmm.
and holding up the Fell Rock. And so if they did go for garden, Tyler could end of turn play Forbidden Research, discard Fell Rock, play it, untap, and then attack the garden. So heads up here from wsgRon, making sure to wait until they can actually protect the garden.
Yeah, heads up play there by Ron for sure. Good call there, Doc. So Felrock the Outcast is a 6 power 5/2. Summon enemy player discards a card from their hand, but interestingly, it has this special text, which is if Felrock is discarded and if you have triple primal and triple shadow, you get to play it from your void, and that's kind of the key text on that card. So what Tyler did essentially was draw 3 cards, discard 2, but one of the ones he discarded was Felrock, which puts it right into play. So that makes this draw 3, discard 2. When it's draw 3 and then put a 5/2 into play, that's much better.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, this card is super, super powerful.
All right, here comes the exploit now. Another exploit off that draw, and this one, that's going to hit that garden, so I
Yeah,
guess
so
that's
this
the
is the
downside.
downside of Ron. Yeah, this is the downside of Ron's line here, where like they open themselves up to second exploit. Now, I think Ron made the correct decision, at least in my perspective, because playing around second exploit is a little bit like, or like worried that they're gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, it seems kind of like not the right thing to
Yeah.
do because it's relatively unlikely. But Tyler getting rewarded here, finding the extra exploit, being able to get rid of the garden.
Yeah, that's one of the situations where you can't just sit around and say, well, I hope they don't. You just got to play out your hand best you can there. All right,
For
the
sure.
file here, not going to be great. That's one disadvantage in this matchup is that you've got some removal in these Felon colors that just is not going to do anything against this control deck.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And but the nice thing though is that Tyler has a lot of ways to churn through their deck, so they can, often like discard these dead removal spells. Should be helpful. But yeah, if they like end up running out of steam at some point, that can be unfortunate. Top decking a Defile in a crucial situation.
Good point. All right, here comes Rindra and Vinegrafter there. That's pretty good.
Finegrafter is cool.
These are sweet. Gibbon plus plus, thank you so much for the follow. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, Skycrag Silex here. That's going to put Ron up to 7. Now they've got this sweet alt art Channel the Tempest, or maybe it's just foil, not sure, but the sweet Channel the Tempest. They've got that on 9, and then you got a Crest and a Rakano Silex in hand.
Yeah, the Crest will help turn on the Rakano Silex, so maybe wsgRon proving me wrong. They are going to be able to get a Trove out of this if they want.
Yep. Just took a little longer, but they'll get there.
Yeah.
Trove here is just going to draw a Sigil. Tyler's a little flooded here. At this point in the game, when you already have 6 power, drawing, essentially 4 more power in a removal spell is not really what Tyler wants. But as you mentioned, they have ways to toss to the market. They have ways to discard them with some of their card draw spells. And they do have a Rindra. But Tyler's going to need to find more gas if they're going to pull through here. Ron has been in a position all game where they can just sit back and draw cards. They haven't had to really do much at all.
Karia is interesting. To relook at their list. I don't remember if they're playing Silverblade Menace or what their market looked like.
Oh, this is sweet. Hailstorm off the top. I wonder if Ron just goes Snowball into Hailstorm and just cleans this up a little bit. They don't even have to, but if you're not doing anything else this turn, fine too.
That's what I would do. I mean, I don't really see a reason why not to. No, but yeah, it's interesting that they got Ikaria. I guess like they don't really. Their Rindra can pop face ages. Potentially they could dome Ron for a bunch of damage with the Menace, but I guess Ikaria is helping prepare for the worst case scenario where Ron finds another garden and plays it.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I feel like the resurface is going to do enough that the Ikaria isn't going to do a ton. But it's hard to say.
All right, Dazzle's pretty nice here. That's going to help give Tyler some interaction here. Now, notably, one thing that came up during Worlds and has come up from time to time is if Ron is able to slam an Honor or a Garden of Omens, it actually reduces the cost of the spells, which makes a lot of their spells come under Dazzle, which is kind of funny interaction, but that is how it works.
Yeah, I mean, it helps you win the Dazzle war, right? Because your Dazzles cost 1, and you can dazzle their Dazzle, and then they can't dazzle your Dazzle back.
There you
Great.
go. All right, Vinegrafter here. All right. Ron, as you mentioned, they can turn on that Silex to get a Trove out of it. They also have a Crest of Order here. They do have that Channel the Tempest. Now, probably not going to want to... Well, I guess you still draw the cards, right? So Channel the Tempest. Not going to kill that Vinegrafter because it does have the regen. Unfortunately, this animation is still confusing, but I've gotten used to it with the floaty red dots is what does it for me. That's how I know.
I see. Yeah. That's definitely a weird one. I always have to like re-hover over it to check. Like, am I sure this lost regen?
Yeah.
Did it really?
It's not the most obvious one, but I forget who it was. Maybe Stormblast mentioned that the floating red dots is what does it.
Interesting.
Harsh Rule doesn't care about regen. Knock that out there. Tyler's gonna let that go. Now, one good card on here is Tyler does have the Ikaria. And the Entomb says the enemy player discards each spell from their hand, which will be pretty nice. Now, Ron has a Face Aegis, but being able to get out this Ikaria, and if it dies, emptying the control player's hand, that's a pretty good ability if Tyler can get that, sequence that to work that way.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Tyler, though, they don't have any access to Vara Vengeance Seeker, which would they have a lot of cards that, will target the opponent. Like they got Menace, they got, the hand disruption and all of that. Without Vara there, they essentially have to use one of those cards first before playing another, which makes it a little bit more awkward and gives Ron more counterplay. But this will, do that there.
Yeah, so we saw a similar play to before. This time with Honor of Claws, it's going to draw 3, then discard. Discarding the Felrock, it'll get you a free 5/2, and it pops the Face Aegis because of Felrock's discard ability. So that's one way to pop the Face Aegis here. Triple Dazzle, too.
Man, Ron finding the Cobalt Waystone off the top.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Convenient there. Koshin Yatko, thank you so much for the follow. We appreciate you being here. Yeah, that's getting that Phase Aegis right back. And as you mentioned, it's not super easy for Tyler to break that. Now, they do have the Rindra, right? So summon ability.
Yeah.
That still hits.
So they're probably trying to decide whether they want to hold up Dazzles or play Rindra.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's a hard decision. Well, I guess sorry. I mean, it's Ron's turn, but
Right.
they're gonna have to decide how much they want to commit to the board going forward.
And
But this
Tyler
Annihilate actually
finds a
seems
target for the Annihilate on that Jotun hurler.
awesome.
We're gonna put Ron down to 12. 5 power, 5 attack hits pretty hard. Now they can sit back with triple dazzle.
Interesting. I almost would have played the Rindra there, maybe,
Yeah.
but I can see this, wanting to have access to all the power.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually gonna let that one go. I thought for sure they were gonna dazzle that hailstorm, but just gonna let that go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler's hoping they're gonna hit another one off of this Forbidden Research, which is a little bit risky, but it could happen.
Here you go. Here comes the garden, which is going to be nice. But Tyler, still, the other line that I didn't read on Ikaria First Reaper is summon, kill an enemy unit, or sight.
Yep.
So
Yeah, so this is what I meant before by like they marketed for the like one of the like worst case scenarios, which is Ron finds a garden, which is it's somewhat likely, but definitely one of the not great scenarios for Tyler. So they prepared for that, preemptively getting this Ikaria, which is gonna pay off here. It could be pretty good. They'll be able to play it and have Dazzle backup, which is especially nice.
all right, there you go. Perilous Research there, or Forbidden Research, sorry. Not hitting a fun discard this time, but still going to draw a couple cards there for Tyler. So hand is pretty much the same. They did pick up a Vine Grafter there, but Sicario is looking really good, and then triple Dazzle here as well. Elm painting off the top.
Yeah, so I expect they're just going to play Ikaria and hold up Dazzle.
Mm-hmm.
And then
This is pretty good. You got Ikaria. That's a 2-turn clock with triple Dazzle.
very true, right?
Now they only have 2 power this turn, so they can only if Ron could double spell this turn, that would do it. They have Channel in hand, Prodigious Sorcery, and Snowball. Snowball's not super relevant here. But they're just gonna pass, and now 1-turn clock here. With Tyler now available, has triple Dazzle up. So what can Ron even do against Tyler with triple Dazzle here?
Oh, interesting. So they're going to play out the Rindra, which means they only have access to 2 of their Dazzles. It's unclear whether that's going to come up, but um,
Hey, Prodigious Sorcery drawing 2 spells. Let's see.
I assume this gets dazzled
That
instantly.
one
Yep.
gets dazzled, yep. So Tyler down to just 1 dazzle available now.
Yeah, and this is the risky part. Like, say, like, let's see.
Well, they have
So,
Channel
I
the
mean, they don't
Tempest
know
and
Ron's hand, but
Trove.
yeah, they don't know Ron's hand, but I mean, Ron could potentially, have like I don't know, 2 ways to draw cards, and one of those could get them to like I don't know a Hirsch rule or
Yeah.
something. But given Ron's hand, I think Tyler is gonna be all right here.
Ron's just gonna channel the Tempest themselves. So
Hey,
all right,
gotta go out on your own terms, right?
so gotta go out in style there. So Tyler on the Felon deck is gonna take that game 1. That Ikaria was kind of the perfect. I mean, the Dazzles obviously helped a lot there too, but the Ikaria was kind of the perfect answer. It was able to take out the garden. It was able to do a ton of damage. It had protection from the Dazzles, and even if Ron did end up dealing with it, it was going to make him discard all their spells anyway. So
Yeah. My
nice.
inclination in that market decision was actually to go for Menace, but it looks like Tyler's decision definitely paid off there.
Not bad also to have triple dazzle against the control opponent.
True, very true.
a big threat plus triple dazzle makes that matchup a little bit easier. All right, Tyler going to take game 1, so this is best of 3, remember. We're just waiting on our players to get back into it. Let's see if we have any results from round 2. It looks like I am straight taking it 2-0 over Uric U. So I'm straight, going to take that one. And then Kolokoma and GHP, that's a pretty good matchup there. They're tied at 1 game apiece. All right, let's head back down to the action.
Looks like Ron looking at a 1 power hand here. I'm assuming they're going to redraw this one.
Yeah, Ron's looking at 1 power. They're going to have to redraw that. Let's make sure our players know that they're good to go.
But I almost wonder if they had a crest, if it would be keepable. If they had the 2nd power and it was, a good power, maybe. I like this hand better, obviously.
All right, so this
You
hand
know,
is Silex, Fury, Petition, Wisdom, Hurler, Harsh Rule, and Stormhalt Knife. Pretty good. One thing that comes up with Stormhalt Knife, which could come up this game, it's important to remember that Stormhalt Knife, yes, it is free if you have 10 health or less, but you can still just cast it as a 6-cost 5/5 weapon. You know, the first time I saw that on coverage, I was kind of blown away and like, oh, yeah, you can just do that, and it's perfectly servable as just a 5/5 weapon for 6 in a slower matchup.
yep, absolutely.
Tyler going to draw Lightning Storm. That's one unfortunate thing about this matchup is Tyler does have some dead cards. Going to have to toss those away with some of their card draw. But they do have a Defile and a Lightning Storm in hand. But they're going to start off with this and an Annihilate too. They're going to start out with an Exploit here. Take the card draw, but that's tough. You could take the Wisdom, but that's tough because there's just so much of that in the deck. You're not really doing much.
I would take the Petition here.
Yeah. Okay.
Try to like it be one of the ways you can run away with the game against control. You know, you have this situation, you have the sand disruption, and you can take away their interesting going for the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that because like if they the reason I want to take Petition here is because it takes away their play this turn. But I can see this as like, you know, they're not able to, you know, refuel on cards. That could be bad. What this does here for Ron though is it gives them the scout, which can effectively draw them a card in this situation, depending on if, you know, the card on top is something they're actively looking for or not.
The brutal draw again, Annihilate, and like you said, they can start tossing it away with some of their looting, if you will. But when you have 3 dead cards in your hand to do that, it's a little tough. Also, Exploit plundered one of those away, so now they're down to 3, but still tough. Still a lot of dead
Yeah.
draws.
Yeah, and like for example, so like what would have happened, I suppose, is Ron might be power screwed in this situation even more if they had taken the Petition, because last turn they wouldn't have been able to do anything, and then this turn they would have had to Wisdom on their main phase.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what next card is, could have potentially led to disaster for WSgRon.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to see a Royal Decree here. Notably, 3 of the cards in Ron's hand, Harsh Rule, Knife, Knife, require double justice, which Ron does not have. Probably not, you know, not for long. There's a lot of power in this deck and a lot of ways to find it. Crest of Order off the top will take care of that, but just something to
That's
note.
pretty good.
All right.
Not the best draw I've hoped for.
Annihilate finding another target. Now, Tyler is setting up. They do have the Fel Rock turned on, so with this honor, they can honor into Fel Rock.
Yep. Seems good. This will be particularly good. So Ron just scouted another crest to the top, and what's going to happen now is Ron will have to discard a card, and they're going to have to mill that crest over.
Yeah, that mill the top card doesn't come up that often, but when you scout a card to the top that you want, it does come up. All right, now
Yeah,
they
now
don't
Ron
have... Yeah, Ron doesn't have a 6th power.
Harsh Rule on the 1 Fel Rock.
Yeah, you do what you can. Do what you have to do, but...
Hate to see it, but, you know, at least he's not taking 5 damage.
Exactly. 2 of the cards that Tyler drew there were Lightning Storm and Defile, but they do have another Honor of Claws, which can either get another Fel Rock or can just, there you go, Fel Rock off the top. Let's do it again, Tyler says.
Wow. Those are like exactly the draws Tyler was looking for.
Absolutely. Get rid of a Hurler. Oh, and what was that off the top there? Pitched a Garden. Nice. Right. And
hits for Tyler.
Yeah, and drew a Dazzle too, so that's nice. And can keep it up if they want to.
This knife, though, answer the Fel Rock.
Yeah. Knife will answer the Fel Rock. We've talked a little bit about the dead cards that are in Tyler's deck, and you had mentioned sort of the looting taking care of that. One thing I didn't really notice, but I think is also important, is how much Plunder has helped this, where with Exploit and Dazzle and these other cards, you can just turn those into power, which is fine as well. You know, it might not be the best, they're still dead cards, but when you have so much Plunder in the deck, that makes that not as hard of a hit, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Champion of Cunning here. Look at this. Flying Aegis regen from the Vinegrafter. As if Flying and Aegis weren't enough, giving it regen. 6/6 beater.
It's going to be difficult to remove that, for sure.
Yeah, and notably the +1/+1 actually makes it dodge the knife as well.
True, yeah.
That's a tough one. Now, Ron does have a Garden in hand, so the Ice Bowl could take care of it, but I think Tyler will probably protect it with the... well, it has the Aegis too, so that's not even going to do it. And it has the regen on top of the Aegis, right? So
yeah, nothing in Ron's hand like deals with this really.
So the Aegis
They
pops
basically
first, right? So it has Aegis
yeah,
protection first, then once that's popped, then it has regen. So it would take, yeah, it would take 3 spells to get rid of that.
yeah, yeah. So it'd probably be some combination of you snowball it, you knife it, and then at some point later you try to ice bolt it with the garden. It seems risky, especially, considering there's this dazzle, but I mean the ice bolt does dodge the dazzle,
Mm-hmm.
fortunately for Ron.
Yeah, as mentioned, because of that garden. Yeah. Another looking at a knife on top. This would be knife number 3 for Ron. I think they kept that on top.
It looked like I couldn't quite tell.
All right, so here's the start of the train, as you mentioned. Snowball's going to pop the Aegis. 1 shield down. Now do you knife and take damage just
I
to
think
pop
so.
the
Oh
regen?
my goodness.
Oof.
Brutal.
Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yep.
As you mentioned, now they do have the garden and the ice bolt. Remember, we talked about this at the start of the match. It will reduce the cost of the ice bolt to 1, which will dodge the dazzle.
All right, interesting. Going for Rindra here.
Pop the face Aegis for Ron. Can't do both. Can't get the knife and the garden down. The only problem here is the garden can take care of the champion, but you're just going to lose the garden with that as well. But you got to do what you got to do. Again, that threat is too big. So even though that champion only got in for 6 damage, how many cards did that get out of Ron's hand? I mean, that was essentially,
Almost all of them.
yeah, almost the entire hand just to deal with that one threat. So that was huge.
Spell Rock is going to be brutal and leave Ron hellbent.
Oof. There you go. There goes that knife. And there goes the garden. So now Ron with nothing in play, no cards in hand, and 14 life. A rough situation to be in. And
They're
facing
top
down the
decking.
dazzle.
Yeah. They're top decking and Tyler has the dazzle. It's definitely not the situation you want to be in.
Yeah, they're going to scout a crest to the bottom. All right, 9 damage coming here for Tyler.
It's going to be more than that, I think, because they're going to go plunder here, play the Trove, pump Rindra.
Yep. There you go. That's going to put Tyler. That's going to put Ron down to 1. Not even going to see what the draw is. Wow.
That was impressive.
All right. Well, congratulations, Tyler, on taking that 2-0 over Ron.